The inkwell sits heavy on the mahogany desk, a dark mirror to the London sky beyond my window. Kensington Palace, they call it. A cage of velvet curtains and whispering courtiers. My mother and Sir John Conroy, they have built a system here, a web of rules designed to keep me small, to keep me waiting. Uncle Leopold writes from Belgium of my cousin Albert, a prince from Coburg, educated and kind. But here, I feel like a prisoner. My life is a performance for an audience of one the king who wishes I were not his heir. The fire crackles, but it cannot warm the chill of this isolation. Every sound is a potential intrusion, every footstep a reminder that I am never truly alone, yet always profoundly lonely. They think they are preparing me for a crown, but they are only teaching me the weight of a prison. My diary is my only confidant, the only place where the I that is me, Victoria, can truly speak. And in these pages I dare to imagine a different future, one hinted at in my uncle's letters, a future that arrived with the orchestrated visit of my two cousins in the autumn of 1836. A glimpse of something, someone, who might understand. The journey to Windsor in October 1839 was stormy, our luggage delayed. We arrived flustered, with only the clothes we stood in, stepping into a whirl of Whig politicians and their effortless laughter. It was a world away from the stifling silence of Kensington. And then I saw him. At the top of the staircase, I received my two dear cousins, Ernest and Albert. It was with some emotion that I beheld Albert, I wrote that night, my hand trembling slightly, who is beautiful. The days that followed were a blur of dancing and games, a dizzying contrast to my former life. Lord Melbourne, my dear Lord M, watched it all with an amused eye. But my own eyes could not leave Albert. He was so different. His manner was gentle, his mind sharp. He brought his greyhound, Eos, a graceful creature who gave her paw and ate from a fork, a reflection of her master's quiet intelligence. Those eyes of his are bewitching, I confess to my journal, and so is the whole face. We played games of tactics and fox and geese in the evenings, the fire casting long shadows in the castle rooms. I felt a tension growing within me, a thrilling, terrifying certainty. The moment arrived on a Tuesday in a little closet. My heart hammered against my ribs. I sent for him. I said to him that I thought he must be aware why I wished him to come here. I recorded, every word etched into my memory, and that it would make me too happy if he would agree to what I wished, to marry me. The words hung in the air. And then, his answer. We embraced each other over and over again. The relief, the joy, was a physical warmth flooding through me. Oh, to feel I was and am loved by such an angel as Albert was too great delight to describe. He was perfection. In the quiet that followed, with the distant sounds of the castle a mere murmur, I knew my life had irrevocably changed. The prisoner of Kensington had found her key. The wedding was a blur of public ceremony, but the true beginning of our life was that first evening, a secret world unfolding within the walls of our apartments. The world fell away. I never spent such an evening, I wrote, the words spilling onto the page in a rush of feeling I had never known. My dearest, dear Albert sat on a footstool by my side, and his excessive love and affection gave me feelings of heavenly love and happiness I could never have hoped to have felt before. The formalities of the day dissolved into an intimacy so profound, it left me breathless. When dawn broke, I beheld that beautiful angelic face by my side. It was more than I can express. He looked so beautiful in his shirt only, with his beautiful throat seen. This was the reality of marriage, not the state affair, but this quiet, breathtaking closeness. We knew we needed a refuge, a place that was entirely our own, away from the prying eyes of London and the formalities of Windsor. Brighton's pavilion, with its odd Chinese towers and public promenades, felt exposed. We found our sanctuary in Osborne, on the Isle of Wight. Albert's eyes shone with a new light as he sketched the plans. He envisioned an Italianate palace, not a cold fortress with terraces overlooking the Solent. Here we built our own world. The rhythm of our days changed. Mornings were for business, the red boxes of state papers signed at a desk overlooking the sea. But the afternoons belonged to us, to our family. We would walk down to the beach, all alone, Eos, our only companion. Albert would point out a cuttlefish or a curious shell, his voice full of a quiet wonder that was so different from the political talk of London. He taught the children to garden in the Swiss cottage he had built for them, their small hands learning to tend the earth. At Balmoral, the wild beauty of the Highlands embraced us. The air was sharp and clean, the silence broken only by the call of blackcock and grouse. We would take long walks, and I felt as if I could have walked for miles. There was a freedom in those hills, a simplicity that allowed us to shed the weight of our titles. In these homes, we created a routine of deep companionship. Reading together by the fire, quiet conversations as the light faded, teaching the children, simple meals without the endless procession of courtiers. These were the moments that sustained us, the quiet foundation upon which our public partnership was built. Osborne and Balmoral were more than houses. They were the physical manifestation of the private life we had chosen. A life where I was not the Queen, but simply Victoria, and he was my Albert. This sanctuary we built allowed our love to deepen in a way that public life never could. The initial overwhelming passion described in my early diaries settled into something richer, a steady and enduring flame. It was a private language spoken in the design of a sapphire tiara, in the shared glance across a crowded room, in the quiet solidarity during a political crisis. Our love was not diminished by time or duty. It was fortified by it. He remained my angel, and I his little wife, but these were no longer just the rapturous words of a new bride. They became terms of endearment that held the weight of shared years, of private jokes, of weathering storms together. The homes we created, the traditions we established, they were all an extension of this private language. The legacy of our love story is not just in the history books, but in the very stones of Osborne and the heather-covered hills of Balmoral, in the quiet corners where we learned that the greatest freedom could be found within the constraints of duty, in the sanctuary we built for each other. The power of our bond echoes still in those quiet corners we built together. If you listen closely, you might still hear the whispers of a love that found its freedom not in spite of a crown, but within its very heart. For more intimate journeys into history's hidden sanctuaries, do consider staying with us here at Palace Whispers.